Okay, so I'd like to just speak a few moments about important topic, and it really is on the importance of studying to show yourself approved as a well-being service provider. And I'm excited because I am joined by my great friend and colleague, Joseph L. Jones Jr., and he is a holistic life chief consultant and also is known as the reflexologist of Reflexologist. And together we are the new definition wholeness architects, and we actually serve as multifunctional wholeness-preneurs. We've co-authored my signature publication, I Touch Myself and I Like It. And that particular publication is a DIY self-massage, acupressure, reflexology, and Wealth-flex-ology journal recorder. And you actually can learn more about that work in the description box. And also, you'll learn more about Joseph and I as well. So as I mentioned, I'm excited to have him to come and share with me on such an important topic. So Joseph, thank you for being here with me.
I am grateful to be here and honored to be in your presence as always. And I know this is going to be, even though a rather short conversation, it's going to be very impactful and we're going to move into some areas of importance.
Absolutely. And thank you. And the feeling is triply mutual in terms of being in your presence and being in your energy. We've done so much together on so many different levels, and certainly this is a time to come together to talk about this. Yes, very, like you said, short conversation, but a very important topic, for sure. So I kind of just want to dive into this with just kind of focusing on why it is important, especially as it relates to talking about being wellness-preneurs, or those who are interested in really stepping more into that arena or really feel called, why it is important to make sure that you are doing your due diligence to be the absolute best that you can be, in terms of being able to provide this level of service to people. And one of the reasons, Joseph, why this is important is because there are areas where we definitely can, share from the place that we are and help people. But there's also lanes that we have to, I don't say stay in a sense, we have to evolve within lanes. There are different levels. And so it is important that when we put ourselves out there for certain things, we do need to make sure that we have definitely studied enough to definitely show ourselves approved. And wellness is one of those areas that you really just can't shortchange it in. Would you agree?
I agree wholeheartedly. And jumping into what you just presented, two ways you end up going in life. You go where you're guided
Mm-hmm.
and you go where you're gifted.
Mm.
And whether you're guided or whether you're gifted, you want to make sure that you put the time in terms of study, in
Yes,
terms of understanding, in terms of developing experience
yes,
before you begin to start talking to people and working on people specifically when
right.
you're talking about something like wellness,
Mhm.
because a lack of knowledge and a lack of understanding could be injurious to the person that you're working on or
Absolutely.
talking to, because even if you're not working on them, you can say something that may cause them to injure themselves.
Right.
So whether you're guided or whether you're gifted, whatever field of endeavor you're in, you want to make sure that you're studied up, you're experienced, and you're able to offer good service to the
Mm.
persons that you're working with and speaking to.
Absolutely. That was perfectly stated. I think we could just wrap it up right now, right? that, that he said it was a short conversation and he just had it. No, that is perfect. I agree wholeheartedly. And I love what you brought up in terms of the two paths. And those two paths actually merge at some point and connect, because we have the guidance and the gifting, those paths, meeting. And I believe that when we are on the path of studying to show ourselves approved, or just allowing the journey to to unfold, so to speak, then you do have the mergers, of that being the path of guidance and the path of the giftedness, all working together cohesively like a hand in glove. And that's what really is required. And you said something that was really key, and it really is I would say, the keynote or the cornerstone, certainly, of the conversation, in terms of putting in the time to study, and how, especially when you were talking about wellness, because there's a higher accountability to this calling, and it is a calling. And there's a higher accountability here, where, because you're talking about the lives of people. And again, when we're talking about working on people or touching people, or even giving them some guidance or advice, you definitely want to make sure that you are coming from the guided place of truth and accuracy for that individual. Now, something, Joseph, that that I'm a high advocate of in terms of the DIY, but also creating sacred space for people really to do their own discovery in terms of what their wellness journey will be. And so some of the publications that I have produced, and you have definitely contributed to several of them, but even primarily the wellness ones, is giving people a place to explore their inner landscape, and, as you call it, their inner curriculum, and really awakening the healer within. And that is too awakening the giftings that are within, and studying yourself and knowing thyself, in a sense, in connection with the information that is out there and that's presented in terms of what people have to study for to credentialize themselves, or just however. But it is important that we use the culmination of the journey, but you cannot overlook the chief cornerstone, because even within the Bible, Timothy says, you have to study to show thyself approved, a workman under God who need not be ashamed. And so, in talking about that, even just in the context of life, right, is that you have to study to show thyself approved in life, and guess what, and in your field. Because even if you are, let's say, a unique pioneer, and I do things that's very unconventional, uninstitutionalized, but you still have to know the basis and the premise of the general knowledge, for sure, of the area which you are breaking rules in, so to speak, or you are being unconventional or being a pioneer. You do have to still study to know what the traditional field of medicine, or however, you have to know these things, because if you ever have to be presented with a conversation, you need to be competent to speak intelligibly, in an intelligence, in a sense, in a way that no matter what level you're on, whether you're the lay person who is just trying to empower people, or whether you are, a professor or a PhD doctor, however, you still need to be able to have some fundamentals to be able to speak in such a way and communicate, but also too, things that make you credible. And that's kind of a few areas that I want to talk about, really quickly. But before, segueing into that, do you have anything that you would like to add or say or piggyback off of?
Well, I want to say that we can all learn from each other.
Absolutely.
And there's something that we can learn pretty much from everyone.
Mm-hmm.
The key, though, is whatever discipline that you're in, you want to make sure that you have the foundations of that discipline completely established in yourself.
Absolutely.
Before you begin to try to seek to advance those fundamentals in other people.
Right.
A lot of times when people get into things, they want to skip over the basics and skip the fundamentals. There is no skipping the basics. There is no skipping the fundamentals. They are the foundation for whatever it is that we're going to do. Now, some people may differ on what those basics or foundations are, but whatever you decide and whatever you know the foundations to be in whatever it is that you're diving into, that you're called to, that you guided to, that you're gifted in, you want to make sure that you're steeped in your foundation of what it is that you're presenting. And you want to make sure that even your presentation of it has a form of excellence.
Absolutely. There it is. Again, the conversation is done now. That right there is the chief cornerstone. And that's something that I really want to highlight on and dig in on before we actually wrap up and I share a few things, is that, yes, again, no matter whether you are a lay person or you are someone who is well studied in the academics on higher levels, the presentation of how you're presenting yourself, it makes a huge difference. And that is where, when we're talking about an area such as wellness, wholeness, healing, those are some things that you really have to demonstrate excellence in. You really can't cut the corners in there, because when you think about it, now, would you want the doctor who is just claiming to be a doctor? And there are many healers that can outperform, if you will, even people who have their degrees. But now,
Absolutely.
when it comes to doing a surgery or so, most people are going to want to go to someone who maybe has both, who has the knowledge, but who has the unique giftings. So the presentation in terms of what does make you credible in terms of to be able to do what you're doing. And a piece of paper doesn't necessarily make you credible,
Right.
So, because I know this can get into a whole lot of different dynamics of what is this, but it goes back to what you said before. How you present yourself, though, means everything. And sometimes even when we are addressing just a particular audience that we feel that we're here to connect with, we also still have to be mindful too, especially when we're out there, and let's just say in the media, so to speak, that you may be directing to your target audience and communicating on the level that you believe is for them. But you also have to keep in mind that there are others within that field. There are others with that can definitely start shining a light on some areas that others may be ignorant to, in a sense. And if you haven't studied to show yourself approved, to present yourself so that even if someone comes after you away, you need to have your ducks in a row. You need to have some, you need to have some things just laid out. Would you agree?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, absolutely, that's key, because there's a word that I like to use, which is called trade integrity.
Yes.
Trade integrity, life path integrity is something that you want to have, because first of all, you want to make sure that you have, I guess the word I want to use that people would understand is a certain pride in what it is that you're doing.
Absolutely.
And if you have that, then the people that come to you, the people that hear you, they'll pick up on that, because they'll know that you're taking some type of profound interest,
Yes.
not only in what you're presenting, but in whatever their case is that they're dealing with.
Absolutely.
But if you don't have that type of integrity, then you're an individual that may just be out for a buck. And we have a lot of people out there that's doing that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when you're in the wellness and the wholeness industry, it is about the total well-being of an individual. And there has to be the win-win in that situation. It cannot be of someone who's just in it for the money, or who's just in it to make a name for themselves. Also, too, something I want to touch on really quick, and then I'll get into sharing some of the opportunities that we have for others to be able to participate in and level themselves up, is that we also have to understand the nature of a true calling. And so Joseph talked about the path of guidance and the path of giftingness. And then I talked about the cohesive merger. Sometimes people call themselves to things, and we need to make sure that we are called to something. Just because we have an interest in it, then we do need to explore that interest and then start the journey. But the journey of a calling and answer a calling does not necessarily mean now you jump in and start doing this. It just means the interest is now here, and you actually start learning the path. You start learning and going on that journey. Now, you may be called during that time to provide some things like maybe some education, or even take people on a journey where you are. Meaning you don't have to be the authority. Something I like to use, and Joseph has heard me talk about this, sometimes you are the one-up expert, the one who knows something more than another person, but you have to actually come from that place. So if you are new to something and you want to start learning about it and you want other people to start looking at you as being on this path, then take them on the journey with you and then introduce it in that way of here's what I'm learning today and I'm teaching you a few things as I'm going along, so there are different ways that we have to apply ourselves. And so when individuals who feel guided to do something, the guidance is also going to guide you into what the path is for the overall objective of the highest level of truth of well-being. So going back to our primary topic here is the importance of studying to show yourself approved. There are different levels to that. And you just can't put, when we're talking about the well-beingness, you have to really apply yourself and you can't make this about you. And so, Joseph, something I want to say, really quickly, just in a general example, in a sense, even though it's something I've experienced and many people have too. So I want to even say to people that even when you see people who are people you admire and you would like to maybe do something that they're doing, you also have to realize that it took a journey for them to get to where they are. And so as Joseph mentioned, is that if you want to cut out the middle path, then you have to ask yourself, am I really called to this? Because you have to learn how to master the mundane and to do the things and lay the foundations and gain those fundamentals. If you think about the Karate Kid, whichever version that you watched, the older one or the more recent one, recent years, where Mr. Miyagi or Jackie Chan, whichever one, made Daniel and Trey, or Dre, which I can't remember the name, but anyway, made them learn how to master the mundane, wax on and wax off, so that they could be masterful in the fundamentals. So then when it came to the biggest challenge and everything, they could do something that no one else could do in karate in that mastery way. But it took a journey. So we can't just look and see someone and say, wow, they're doing this and I want to jump out and do this, and not understand that they had a journey to get there. And if you want to cut that out and already be doing a level of mastery and saying, okay, tonight I just decided that I'm going to do this, and now I'm going to build a website around this, and I'm going to look at a few people and piece together hodgepodge and do some things, and then now I'm going to call myself a wellness professional. You're treading a dangerous line, for sure. Would you agree, Joseph?
Absolutely, you are. One of our great master teachers, Sheikh Sufi Ba, he talks about how if you want to be a master is a master of the basics.
Yes.
That's what a master is, a master of the basics. So much like what you were just speaking to, you want to make sure that you're steeped in the basics and the fundamentals, and make sure that you are applying them to the point of mastery in whatever it is that you're doing, whatever it is that you're engaged in. You want to make sure that those basics, even if you're just teaching the next level up, you want to make sure that you have an understanding of that before you present it to someone else.
Absolutely, absolutely. And right there, again, you've already had the conversations. And I'm so glad that we've had this conversation. So do we want to leave it there? I'm going to have you actually to close out with some powerful words after I share just some opportunities to help people understand kind of that journey in a sense. So should I, jump into that, or do you think we need to expound upon anything else before I introduce those and then have you close out afterwards?
I think you can jump right in.
Okay, great. Okay, so one of the things that I want to talk about, really quickly, and there'll be information about these opportunities, below, is that as we are talking about this really important topic, we don't want to just talk to you about it and then not be able to provide some type of experience that can help you to have an entry-level start or advance yourself if you're already a part of the wellness aspect and having services in that area. So kind of an entry-level product group that we'll invite you to be a part of is called The Power of My Touch, and it's for DIY wellness advocates. And then there's another special opportunity that's called the WRITE Wellness-preneur Path Alignment. And this particular aspect is about really helping you to build and establish credibility, because there's different levels to that, but also how to become published as a DIY wellness advocate even before becoming certified. And then the opportunity to learn how to create a well-being preneurial platform before actually building a business. So there's steps, to start this process, or even for some who want to start the rebuilding process or revamping process of what they're doing. Also too, there's going to be, I said, the information that's below, but I also have a unique opportunity for a certification cohort process. And it's for my platform, the Touch Zones Wellnesspreneurs Academy. But this, what I'm speaking about, is kind of a prerequisite in order to even qualify, for that, because I know that there are a lot of certification programs that are out there, and they're really great, that anyone can pay their money and can get into. My thing is that I want to make sure that whoever I certify and bring it to a higher level, that I know exactly what they've studied and they've been through, a certain process. But this is really an entry level with ease process to just be able to get your feet wet, and also too, to learn your own path, to learn what is your unique path, what is your unique alignment, because everyone's path is going to be different. So there's the way you're guided and your gifting, and as they come together, one thing may just have it all for you. So you'll find and discover what that is in this experience. And so there'll be some information. There's some information below. So Joseph, I am going to turn it over to you. And thank you again so much for having this important conversation with me. So anything you want to say about the opportunities here, and then be able to wrap us up?
Well, first, thank you so much for the wisdom that you're sharing and for bringing this conversation forward and providing the public with the tools that are absolutely necessary for them at this time. One of the most important things that we want to look at and consider is now is a time for healing on profound levels.
Yes.
This is the time for us to really engage in first self-healing, because there's two key concepts that I want to key in on as we close out, coming out of ancient Egypt and other ancient societies that we produce. One is physician, heal thyself. And with that statement is telling us, all of us in one form or another is our own individual physician. And the first thing that we want to do is to make sure that we begin the process of healing ourselves. That can't be done unless we study to show ourselves approved.
Right.
And it's through that study and understanding that we begin to take on the process of healing ourselves. And then the other statement that comes forward from the ancients is do no harm. So even though you're studying and even though you're putting forth information, you want to make sure that what you put out there does not harm anyone. First of all, that it doesn't harm yourself. And then second, that it doesn't harm anyone else out there. So it's important to follow what we can call the SAS method. And that is to study, then apply, and then share.
Yes. That is perfect. And now we have to close out on that. There's so much I want to say, right? I should have known you would do that, but we can also revisit, having another conversation about this. That was phenomenal. Please do go and apply that, because without that, that right there, again, Joseph could have had this conversation alone, honestly.
No.
This is wonderful. This was exactly what was needed in terms of empowering people in this way and with that knowledge. So I can't thank you enough again. And I'm sorry I had to jump in real quick to say something on that, because we could just leave it at that and then I not tell you how magnificent, how magnificent that was. So
Thank you.
welcome and thank you again. So I guess I will then just close us out with saying this. Please go back and listen to this several times and pass it on to anyone who would benefit from this. And what Joseph ended on, please take time to sit with that and really meditate on that, because that right there is the gem. And if you feel called to be in the wellness industry, then you definitely need to follow exactly what he said, just to get yourself started in the basic vibrational understanding first and grounding yourself in the truth, so then you can move forward and be effective with, with what you share. So again, there's information in the description about all that we've talked about, opportunities and the publications and how you can learn more about Joseph and I. And we certainly look forward to bringing you more empowering conversations of this nature in the near future.